Oh, is it?
No.
Let's actually start heading this way because it looks like all three of them.
What is the name of Calico Jack's ship? You're hearing it, right?
I didn't just then.
Well, besides that, I couldn't like get any names or anything specific.
Life. One night, and I'll never forget it. Life.
Bride. What the freak? That's,
Yeah, that was funny.
That's really scary.
They think we're guys. And he goes for 5 minutes. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm never going to forget that. Just because it's one of those pieces. Like, you can't deny what you actually heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was weird.
All right, so let's get into. Oh,
Don't fall.
yes, slipped on the sand there. It's not true. All right, so those of you with video recorders, feel free to stop them if you'd like. Kind of give your hands a break. Is a lot or nothing. So I'll know probably within the first 5 to 7 minutes. If we have a lot going on, we'll obviously continue for a few more minutes, and then we'll wrap up this party and get you guys back to your vehicles out of this crazy heat, because you guys are all got glistening faces right now. So I'm just worried that like this is a very warm day for us, especially at night. But let's crank up those spirit boxes. You're already recording. You have your red square. Look at you. You're on top of things. Go ahead and pull up your antenna.
So what's the name of the ship?
Calico Jack.
Calico Jack.
And the name of
Anne's parents.
Anne's parents.
You got it. 2 simple questions. And I'll reveal those answers before we leave, of course. So,
Liar.
I will. Okay. Do I have to put up with everybody?
Wait, so what are we looking for? What questions are we asking?
What her dad's name is and what the mistress's name was. Well, her mom, her parents.
What's her name? The her?
And
Yeah. And what's your father's name? And what's your mother's name? And what's your father's name? You heard that, right?
I didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it either.
Ask again. Same question.
What?
Ask the same question again.
And what's your mother's name? Close. And what's your father's name? And what's your mother's name? Like something is trying to come through, but like nothing's coming through. And what's your mother's name? And what's your father's name? And what's your mother's name? And what's your father's name? What was that?
Is it Ashley?
Ashton? Ashley?
Move.
And is your mother's name Ashley? Did you hear that?
No.
I heard yes. I definitely heard that.
So ask again.
And is your mother's name Ashley? And what's your father's name?
That was weird.
That was weird. And what's your father's name? And what's your father's name? And what's your father's name? And what's your mother's name?
You're gonna ask what the name of Calico Jack's ship was.
Jack's ship?
Calico Jack's ship.
And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship? And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship?
TikTok or Tic Tac.
I hear TikTok or like Dead Tac or something.
Go there.
And what's the name of your father's ship?
It's not his.
Oh, her father?
No, it's this second guy she married, or whatever.
Calico Jack. What's the name of Calico Jack's ship? What's the name of Calico Jack's ship? And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship?
Did you hear ship?
I heard ship too.
I've heard it twice now.
This is only the first time I heard it.
I heard it when we were walking this way. Ask again.
And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship? And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship?
I keep hearing that one
Yeah.
voice.
I'm hearing a voice, but
It's a female voice.
Yeah.
I can hear it, but I can't make it out.
Yeah, that's weird. And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship?
Did you hear Spirit World?
No, I didn't. I heard Spirit earlier, though.
Let's move. That way.
And what's the name of Calico Jack's ship? Sorry, my foot's itchy. Let's go over here.
Ask her mom's name or dad's name.
On two separate times, it said $5. I don't know what that means.
I heard it twice. It's 5-5, right?
Like, no, I didn't hear it at the same time. Like, I heard $5, and then a few minutes later, I heard $5 again.
What I mean, you have 2 5s. So 55, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at that. Or it could be May 5th. You know what I mean? So again, just like the double sevens of July 7th, I have to look at everything in kind of a retrospect.
Oh, okay.
What do we have going on with year 2?
So we heard ship
Okay.
at one point,
That's
and
pretty common
then-
here, believe it or not.
and then we keep hearing a female voice, like she's trying, like somebody's trying to,
It's really like,
But
then it gets staticky. Like,
but we can't make out what she's saying.
yeah.
Okay. And you have the one that's not recording, right? Yes. Alright. That's the problem with having two of those. And I just noticed your button. I'm so sorry. I didn't congratulate you.
Oh, thank
I feel like a jackass now.
No, you're fine.
So,
It's funny because your thing picked up on the bride before you did. Just now, it's
Wow.
the bride.
it has the word bride on it right now.
Get out.
No.
Yeah.
What the freak?
So, if I actually have two of those recording, and I give you guys 4 hours of white staticky noise with radio chatter, somebody's going to kill me. So again, to keep me safe, you're only going to get one recording, which is why I do it this way.
Okay.
So I'm going to follow up with Jordan and see what she's got going on, and then I'm going to pull us over to the wall. Now, like the 5-5 thing, I don't know what that is, but we also have the word monument. And I'll explain what that means once we actually get back to the wall. So let me follow up with Jordan. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, there were like
What else
three
did we
different,
hear?
like
Huh?
it kept
What else
popping
did
up
we
three,
hear,
like
though?
it kept,
Really fast.
yeah, three in
Suppose
one.
Carolyn and thought.
Yeah.
That's
Line
interesting.
thought,
I'm going to
stroke,
dive into that.
technician. Oh, I guess it's 4 words that came in at the same time.
What's your question?
She heard like spirit. I don't know
Oh,
if that-
spirit world.
I heard
Hello.
spirit, but I didn't hear
We've been trying to
spirit
talk to you.
world.
You know, right?
Oh yeah, do I hear you?
Terrorist? Choose now, terrorist?
Part of the.
What?
That's a do I hear you?
Alright.
Thousands of dollars.
$1,000.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands or houses?
Thousands of dollars.
They don't get the. I couldn't make that out. I thought it said something else.
Other than walking. It is interactive.
I know, that's what I heard too.
Good job, Sam.
You did good, Sam.
What?
You booked us.
The best tour that there is. Correct.
Oh, how did you buy it?
I gave you money back.
Alright, so, you hear anything, see anything?
Hello,
We're
everybody.
we're here. What was that?
I heard thousands of dollars.
Is the other thing relevant, you think?
What do you got?
We're gonna be late to the cookout? No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
We're
It
gonna be
stuck
talking
out.
about pirates. I'm sure they weren't, you know, like
No, I don't think. I mean, they might
pulling
have
up
been
lawn chairs in the
barbecuing.
backyard.
I mean, they could have been doing.
A little bit. So, welcome to the Powder Magazine. So, we are going to be discussing that little tiny building over there. The reason I brought us back here, you guys seen all the crazy tours. Again, I told you I'm going to keep us out of their way because we're going to be investigating this space and we're going to be heading to the front of the Powder Magazine as well. So, let's get through the history back here and then we'll spread out as far as you guys want to go. The Powder Magazine, those are not crosses on that building, first off. Those are earthquake bolts. So you guys have been seeing earthquake bolts all over town, kind of our Charleston charm of like lion heads and pineapples and that kind of thing. So basically, yeah, because that's how we decorate them. That's just what we do. Now, earthquake bolts is basically a safety net. If we have another earthquake, those things are turnbuckles. So you can turn them, and it's supposed to straighten the building back up from the damage of the earthquake. It's a weird idea, but it just doesn't work. So they're just all over town. Again, it's part of our Charleston charm. The reason I bring these ones up specifically is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston actually put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. was finished in 1713. We're here because this building was erected at the same time that Anne Bonny started her her pirate career in Charleston. So again, this is what we call a familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. It's the same principle. Familiar building, hopefully we'll capture some activity. Now, we talked about the Charlestown Wall earlier, and we had even Wall Street actually pop up on a spirit box. That wall actually stood on Cumberland, where that garage is sitting right now. It went up past the powder magazine and started going south towards the battery, locking the powder magazine the furthest away that they can protect it on purpose, 3 blocks away from the water. If a pirate ship or Revolutionary warship is going to attack it from the water, it's going to have a hard time making it this far inland, first off. Second, those walls are 32 inches thick. It's going to have a hard time going through to blow up the gunpowder that's inside, but we're going to pretend that it does. There's sand in the roof still there that was put there during its construction in the early 1700s to go up with the explosion because it can't go out with the thick walls, and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. That's another great idea, but it doesn't work. So we had another powder magazine that was closer to the battery. It did get hit, sand in the air, building burned to the ground. The sand is still underneath those shingles. It is not hot enough here, nor that sand being compressed to turn it into glass, and sand does not disintegrate. So that sand is still sitting underneath those roof shingles. Now, this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? So, I don't know. I'm just going to answer for you. Anne Bonny actually came here right in the middle of it, so that's where our story begins. Let's kind of get into that. Follow me, there's a lot of twists. 1708, a young lady named Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? Anne with her dad, mistress is mom.
Nice.
The 3 of them running away from his wife.
Okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
Just saying, yeah. They both made them leave the country to come here. They land in Georgetown, just north of here between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. Probably not a good journey for them. Just pointing that out. Now, that means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown. They were throwing things from the plantation to kind of keep things afloat. And we have a cricket. Awesome. So, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. So I tell you that to kind of put the mentality of this young lady through your heads as we kind of go through the rest of her history. Fast forward, the building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. She's going to fall in love pretty quickly because she wants her freedom just like a man. Again, early 1700s. Now, first guy she falls in love with, yes, I'm going to keep tally because there's a handful, James Bonny. You can already see where this one's going because we already mentioned the name Anne Bonny. But Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. So they run away to Jamaica, they get married, Anne Cormack is now Anne Bonny. But James Bonny is not Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. Like every young woman back then would have wanted to marry a Captain Jack Sparrow style pirate. This guy's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. In her eyes, he's a coward. This is not who she wants. A few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This turns out to be John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. This is the real person that they based your Captain Jack Sparrow character off of. So, we'll get into him later. Calico Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on the crew. Does anybody know why?
Bad luck.
Bad luck, right. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can actually be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, it's a man's world, I'm a pirate, here we go. Let's put 2 and 2 together. We're all adults here. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba. We'll have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. So again, there's no resource anywhere that's going to tell me what happened to the baby. The weird thing about this whole coming back thing is that she's dressed like a female. This makes Jack pretty angry because now everybody's going to know he let a girl on the ship. But while she was away giving birth to his baby, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. Murder. Not yet. So.
Telling the future over here.
I know, right? So, the young lady that she was flirting with, her name was Mary Reed. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers. We're never going to know for sure, but they're friends. We'll keep it at that. The British find out where they are. They send their fleet of ships to come down and take on one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use the cannons yet. And obviously 2 ladies taking on a fleet of ships is not going to work out. They're going to get arrested. So as they're being arrested, Anne looks at her captain, her beau, Calico Jack, and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here a lot on your spirit boxes, by the way. The judge wants to see the two men that fought back so valiantly after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk crew that wouldn't fight. So now the two ladies go in front and reveal their gender to the judge, hoping to save themselves, and he doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're pirates. We plead our bellies was the last thing they screamed out, because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charlestown area with all of his Irish money because he was an attorney back home in Ireland, and he bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed, has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes, we do not know much about her life after her pirate career. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in that same jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. I'm sure it was nasty and gross. Some resources will say just fever, but I'm sure it was much further than that. We don't know. Again, trying to find facts in pirate lore is a feat all on its own. Because again, we're talking pirates. It's for speculation. Now, the only 2 things that I left out for all you spirit box folks to use on your spirit boxes, you know what you're doing by now. We've been together probably nearly 2 hours. I don't keep track. But at the same time, I left out the names of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the father and the mistress. So you can ask what those names are. You can also ask the name of Calico Jack's ship. I'm hoping that we're going to get the answer. It doesn't come up often. You can also ask, and this is a weird one, especially for Brenda's device, it likes to give us this answer. She's going to use her motion sensor to try to find out Anne Bonny's hair color. Again, getting a red reading is a very odd thing. I know we just saw one back at Lodge Alley, but again, I've never seen it over there either. Like, that is a crazy anomaly that just happened back there. I've never seen one up until a few weeks ago when we were asking directly from a spirit box, and I had that device with us as well, and it touched the red to show us her hair color was indeed red. So again, weird things have occurred here. Now, we can go in front of the powder magazine for those of you with video cameras, or for those of you that just want to see what the front of it looks like, you can do that. The only thing I ask is you just stay the way out of the other tours. So again, let's definitely get some footage around here. I'm actually going to go over there by that wall, so that way, I can set the bag down over there, let you guys kind of work, and I'll start bouncing around for a few minutes and by and through it, and we want to be vloggers out here. So if you want to actually film it, you can, but it's completely up to you. It'll be your footage. Now, the space behind me is called Philadelphia Alley now. It used to be called Duelers Alley because this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So we all tell the story of one specific duel, but again, I'm going into a little bit different details than your normal ghost tour. So, ghost hunting, need more details. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. I know, history can be long and boring. I'm going to call out villains every time. So you guys know. Now, with that said, Amanda tells Dr. Ladd you got to go. So let's kind of figure this out. So he comes to Charleston to prove that he's not just after her money. He's going to start his medical practice down here. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. But somebody was walking by. His name is Ralph Isaacs. Now, we're going to stop on Ralph for a second because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. RI will show up here all the time. Again, I need the secondary verifier because that's belonging to 2 different characters. So kind of keep that in mind as well. But Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you and take all your money. So the doctor, is listening, and Ralph offers him to go stay with some friends of his at 59 Church Street. The number 59 often shows up here too. He's got some friends there. The doctor can rent a room from them, and he'll be good to go. Well, he took him up on the offer, and they become friends. Now, the longer the doctor stays in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's doing pretty well for himself, which means Amanda's coming down soon, and they're going to finally get married. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. He's a pretty jovial guy. This is the... What's that? You have the word whistle? Oh.
No,
Presumably. So, now, I will tell you that every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. That's just the way it goes. But we actually have proof of this one, so let's kind of get through the rest of the story. Now, the doctor, him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's just the way the hierarchy worked back then. So, as they're going to see Richard III, they have to talk about the play on the way home. because they didn't sit next to each other to discuss. They're discussing the new actress. The doctor thought she was great, Ralph not so much. It gets even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island, and it gets really ugly and they go their separate ways. But Ralph goes and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. He's a disgrace, he charges too much. You know, that kind of mentality. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. Somebody's gonna die and we're gonna just settle this once and for all. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel. But Ralph had his one shot in his, pistol. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor drops and he falls to the ground and he didn't die. His friends pick him up, they carry him home to 59 Church Street, and he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. If you remember the guy's a doctor, he probably tried to bleed his bullet out himself. So, the ghost story part of this is that you can walk through the alley and actually hear the whistles from the doctor. Turn on your voice recorders when you guys walk down there on your own, because obviously I can't take you down there, I'm going to get to that in a minute, and turn on your voice recorders and see what you can capture. Now it is we're going to turn that noise off, the white button in the back, because I hear some horses coming. They also don't like that noise. Thank you. Now, we actually used to take people all the way through, and it was about listening to the voice recorder to see if there's any whistles in the background. If you do this on your own, keep in mind every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street is going to throw a whistle down the alley. We do it every single night when we're done touring with you guys, because we're going to end right there. Our garage is right there. So again, we have to pass the alley in order to, be able to make sure, we're going to throw a whistle down. But anyway, here's how I got booted out of here. This is the fun part. This is what you're waiting on, isn't it? The alley didn't always come all the way through. So we used to take people all the way down to the end to show them the bricks at the end of the alley, kind of like what we did over there at Lodge Alley. But those bricks at the other end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. Basically, those kids had to turn those bricks in the sun to be able to bake them, so that way they could become bricks. There's a full handprint and fingerprint swipes in some of those bricks at the end of the alley. Everybody wants to kind of do put your devices near it, see if they can get a reading, and treat that brick the same way you do a grave. The kid is not staring at that brick with his handprint in it in the afterlife. So, it was a matter of just showing off the history to show how far we've come. Again, I'm sure you guys picked up, I'm all about the history. But one night, November 26th, 2020, my entire team wanted to stop at that brick and go around it and try to get a reading from it. It was outside a gentleman's dining room window of a beautiful mansion at the end of this alley. So, he come out screaming. He's not happy with us. Left the Pinckney Mansion site. What do we got?
I didn't hear anything.
Nothing on yours, George?
Honestly, nothing that made sense.
Okay. That you know of?
That I know of, yeah.
So, anything crazy or funny you think you may have heard? It's like, yeah, no? Okay. And then
I have a few words like doctrine, office, faculty, theory, transport.
I heard something about Wall Street.
Wall Street.
That really stuck out to me, but...
That's actually relevant.
Oh,
I heard
really?
it too.
You
The
heard it?
Wall
yeah,
Street,
I didn't,
yeah.
but I was looking for a name, so I just ignored it. But I was like, I heard Wall Street.
Anything that you hear pertinent, like they
Well, because I
obvious.
was really looking for a name. Because let me listen for a name. But Wall Street like popped out at me.
So, here's where we are.
I'm not moving, but it keeps occasionally going to blue, but the numbers are not high.
We're going to talk more about the bricks with your device. Like, we're going to be experimenting with it here in just a moment. So it's good that you're paying attention to it. It's good. As far as the motion that's going on in there, that's kind of an odd thing. We do get some orbs that'll show up on Gianna's camera. I'm sorry. Did I get the names mixed up?
Yes.
How could you?
Oh.
And it's not the first time that's
So
been done
sorry.
either.
It's okay.
We will
What,
get
because of
things
me?
that will show up on
Yes.
Sam's camera in this location that are questionable. So we'll kind of see what goes on, because it's weird that you're getting any motion at all. We don't
Is
normally
there
see
a
that.
correlation between the motion and the numbers? Because I'm still at very low numbers.
Again, remember, they work independently. There are two different types of EMF fields. One's measuring a certain type, and the other one's creating a certain type to be broken. So the antenna's creating a certain type of EMF.
Understood.
That way it's not being measured on the red screen.
Thank you.
Now, we were coming down East Bay Street, and when we crossed that last crosswalk, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be, Wall Street. So again, you're inside the original walls. This is one of the first streets we ever had. So I say one of, because we had many, yes. The reason why I like to bring people down here, I'm sure you noticed, like, we haven't really seen a tour yet. So again, I like to go to the spaces the other tours won't go to, because they're not diving into the history the way we are. The reason I asked you all for names is because I have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived down here. We to impress, it's not a lengthy list. But the names I commonly hear on that every 6 to 7 week loop are Benjamin and John. Now, Benjamin and John, I'd say when people live down here, it's 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. We get those names every 6 to 7 weeks. There's 4 different Johns, by the way, that live down here. So how do we know we're dealing with the right one? He likes to give us his last name at the same time that we hear his first name, John Johnson. So we'll get Ben, John, and Johnson all in the same night every 6 to 7 weeks. Every once in a while, we'll get a third name. The name is Jane. That's a third person out of the 5 for the roster of the people that lived here in that same year. So here's what we're dealing with. They call it the stone tape theory. The possibility that the bricks that we're standing on are hanging on to the consciousness and memories of the things that occurred here. These bricks are called Belgian blocks. They're made of granite. They are not supposed to have any type of EMF, basically Brenda's readings, on them whatsoever. Even when you break them apart, like a quartz, they don't emit any electromagnetic field whatsoever. So pick a brick and literally put your device on the ground on any brick you choose, and let me know if you get anything above 1.1. It's very weird that you're getting
9.8.
Holy cow.
It is pink or purple. 9.6, 9.4, 9.3.
Again, 1.1 is natural from the earth.
9.7.
96, 97 is about the average right now.
Yep, 9.8.
General.
Wow. The highest I've ever seen that go is 15.2 in this location. Again, most nights we don't get anything because again, it's outside that loop. So again, I've been measuring these basically the last 2 loops, and this is when about the time that we start getting those
Just hit
readings.
10.2.
Wow. The other weird thing about this alley, we're going to keep an eye on that for just a minute, just because they're so high. Before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. We do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons, obviously symbols, Mason, Freemason, and we've gotten the term Illuminati several times. Now, first off, the question there is, who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? Because that's where we hear it, normally is on one of the red spirit boxes. The second thing is, why are we only hearing it while we're in this space? So again, the word symbols and Illuminati are usually the most common things we hear based on the Freemasons, but again, you can't deny that when Freemasons were here, there was something going on. So again, I have no other proof of that.
Still at 10.2. Is that what
Is it steady?
Is that 10.1, 10.2, 9.7, back up to 10?
Wow, it's all over the place. And again, there's electricity it's kind of cool that you're in the middle because the electricity vibes that you would get are going to be on the other side of these walls. So to test that, go ahead and pick it up and place it near that window of that building and see what you get because there's going to be electrical current going through those walls.
But you want it higher or no?
Higher, just, I mean, you could just hold it and put it right against the wall and see if you get a reading on it.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
0. 0.0.
Because again, it's underneath the window, which normally in a hotel room, below the window is where the outlets are. So you would think there would be some kind of current going through that wall. At least like a 5 to a 7. So we're just getting all that flickering too.
Still at 0.
Very weird.
I'm also not moving.
Yeah, I see that. Very still. You guys hearing anything? I know you guys got your earbuds in. Very weird. And again, I kind of just stall here for a few to get some footage on the cameras.
It's red.
We'll see that. Go ahead and reset it. Let's see if it's going to go back to it.
Now it's blue and
Now
I
it's
just
blue.
reset it. Now it's red and I reset it.
Just static.
And now it's gone. Any numbers?
8.1, 8.3.
Again, we don't
didn't.
normally see
He
this
didn't.
there. What'd you get?
He didn't?
He didn't. Like, as in he did not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Sorry.
Again, I don't have all the answers. This is a theory. So again, this is granite. It's not supposed to have that kind of readings at all. So the fact that it's been kind of steady between, we have a lowest at 8.2 all the way to a 10.2, like that's pretty crazy stuff. Like, absolutely nuts. Again, that's a lot of readings come out of here. And the blue and the red, like I can't explain that either. Because normally it's at a solid green with no motion going on whatsoever. Very weird. Now, part of the reason why I bring you here is to kind of give you the rest of the layout of the land of how we're going to be moving through the rest of the city. We're going to be going to 2 more locations. The next one is another alley. However, I can't take you all the way through it. Why? Because it's residential at the end, and London and I have been kicked out. So again, you guys have all the blinky lights and noisemakers and that kind of thing. It's out of bounds to be anything near residential. However, we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood as we go through the end of the alley to get to the next one. So video cameras, you will stop your videos as we exit the alley. Just like vehicles, we don't record people's houses. Spirit boxes, keep listening, and you're going to see where the word doctrine actually comes in. So again, we have the word doctrine show up. So the next one is actually that particular doctor story. We'll kind of go into that alley, but we're going to start seeing those other larger groups because it's a very popular ghost tour stop. But of course, I'm going to tell you the story differently because we're ghost hunting. You need much different details than the campfire ghost story. So,
What's the significance of the Messianic lounge? Did you say it was Messianic here? Or?
yeah, Freemasons.
Freemasons. So what's the significance of it?
So we will get terms wrapped around it. There's very little information about the Masonic Lodge even being here, other than it's on the registry. That's it. So again, very secretive. All right, let's head up to the next alley. Let's go see what else we can find.
It takes a long.
No, right? It's gonna.
Water.
Fucked out. Oh.
Untangled for me.
Names of your kids. Did you hear Jesse? I heard Jesse.
Ask again.
Sorry. What were the names of your kids? How many kids did you have?
Maybe we should just stand in one spot.
Okay.
Like, let's move to where. Right. Okay. Now ask.
How many kids did you have? What were the names of your kids? I heard Jesse.
I heard Jesse again.
Yeah, but that's what I'm hearing.
Ask again.
What?
Ask the names.
Eliza, what were the names of your kids?
Nothing good?
I heard Jesse
Twice.
twice.
In different areas, too.
Yeah.
Jesse. There's Jesse guy.
And I think I heard 11 for how many kids? I heard
guess
Jesse
we're getting
again.
closer to the answer because that's
Ask
the,
again.
Eliza, what were the names of your kids? are the names of your kids?
I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I'm doing one last round robin before I pull us to the back and kind of see what's going on. So what have you heard?
So I thought, when I asked her how many kids, I thought I heard 11.
No, but
Okay.
the number 11 is definitely relevant to the space. So you have to remember, there are other people asking questions as well. So
Okay.
the answer can go anywhere.
And then for kids, I only heard Jessie. And
But we
she
heard it twice.
We heard twice.
In 2 different spots.
Okay. Yeah, Jesse's definitely not one of the kids. But again, you're hearing things, which is good. So again, it's not an easy task to do. I'm asking you to use your senses in a way you've never done before. So
Okay.
again, it's a lot of focus. The fact that you're hearing phrases, it's good. So again, it's not like you're just willy-nilly throwing things out there.
Yeah.
You heard Jesse twice. You both verified it. Obviously, the number 11, I'm going to tell you why it's specific once we get to the back. But again, somebody's asking about what happened to the mansion. And number 11 is relative to that. So I'm going to see if
Okay.
there's something else that's going to be popping up along with it. So let me do one more quick little round robin. I'm going to follow up with Stephanie, and then Jordan again, and then I'll pull us all to the back. So,
Okay.
just wait for my
Ask again. I want to see if we can hear Jessie again.
Somebody, not one.
What are the names of your kids?
Not one.
I heard forget.
Not everything is relevant.
Showing what? No. It said music in you, and it's a song singing. And it just said music.
Ask
How many
many-
kids do you
But I
have?
don't think that means anything. A paragraph.
How many kids do you have?
They were in close proximity, showing you the color coding. So again, the colors and the numbers work independently.
What are the names of your kids?
You'll get the variation. Eliza, can you show us the color purple? On this box, you know how it works. Just get close to the metal stick like you just did. It's the color purple.
What are the names of your kids? I hear Eliza.
Eliza,
Did you hear that?
Can you hear it? No?
Ask again. Ask again.
What are the names of your kids?
Eliza, one last chance. Can you show us purple?
What are the names of your kids? How many kids did you have? I'll be honest with you. I haven't heard her say 4, but I feel like she has 4 kids. Like 4 keeps popping into my head. I don't know if it's just like because people just have 4 kids, but
Jeez.
oh, we gotta go in.
Ask again.
We're gonna head to the back. I'm gonna give you guys some answers.
Ask again.
What?
Ask again.
How many children do you have? I heard it's the Jesse twins.
Do I turn this off?
Yeah, go ahead and mute yours, and those of you with cameras, go ahead and shut them down. Go ahead and pause yours. That's the red square. Your button over here is going to be this guy. Yeah. I'm just kind of keep an eye on it. But their mansion sat in the front, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So I always like to give you the layout of the land before we get here, before we really dive into the history. Now, spirit boxes, all four of you, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes, and I'm going to withhold information on purpose. Remember, if it's validated, you will have that validation through links of credible links tomorrow morning. So, who the heck were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's three different Charleses. You guys see why we look for the secondary verifiers now? We need those to know which Chuck we're chatting with. Because again, we never know which one it's actually going to be. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Like, that's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than everybody here, including London. London thinks politics are great. No, I'm kidding. She hates it. She's 16. So, it's supposed to be a joke. School chuckles. It's okay. Have fun. Now, with that said, Eliza married Charles. We're going to talk about Eliza the whole time. So Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So when you ask her how old she was, you're not going to get answers like 12 and 14, just so you guys have that idea. The only reason I bring this up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they married.
Ew.
So kind of keep that in mind. You might get either number. It happens all the time, or the length of time that they were married, which is very specific as well. Now, Eliza married Charles because her father was over in England, because that's where Eliza's from. And her father thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all his kids home one last time. Eliza didn't think he was dying. Instead, she got married, and it's 1744. You don't get married in 1744 for a green card. You get married because you're in love. We're not even a country yet. A green cards weren't even a thing. So, again, she did marry him out of love. So don't poke the bear on that one. Was there an affair and all of that stuff? Like, none of that actually went down. Now, she was right. Her father got better, which means he starts sending her gifts over from England. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least an hour that I know of. You've probably seen the word indigo somewhere because it's all over town. So indigo is a plant that makes a blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. London's the only one wearing it right now. So, and we did not do that purposely. So, I was looking around because I stared at everybody's pants. So it's like, oh, nobody's got indigo on tonight. But that's how we use it today. But when Eliza got it, she didn't know what to do with it. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated because it's not always hot here. And then she sends it to a plantation to make it this huge cash crop. Calls her father and says the rice plantations of Charleston and Myrtle Beach are going downhill. We can make a killing with the indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Now that's the business side of Eliza, the boring stuff. Let's get into the weird stuff because that's why everybody's here. You want to see something actually happen. So let's kind of get into it. I'm going to be kind of assigning a series of questions to each type of spirit box based on what you have. So, Stephanie, we're going to start with yours and we'll go down this way. Your spirit box, because it only gives us like 1 to 2 syllables at a time, we're going to focus on what actually happened to the mansion. It's not here anymore. So you can ask Eliza what happened to the mansion, and if you get an answer, when did that happen? A lot of times we get the full date, the month, the day, and the year on top of the actual tragedy that actually occurred that night. So kind of keep that in mind when you're going through your series of questions. You're going to focus on those. With your word list, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza, so the one we just spoke of. So the first Eliza actually died in January before he married the second one we just spoke of in May, 5 months later. First wife dies, 5 months later he's married again to a woman with the same name.
No time.
Yeah, not at all. So the ironic piece of this is that both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Try to figure out which one we're dealing with by asking her maiden name, and we're going to put the marriage questions on you as well because that thing will give us numbers.
Okay.
Your device. Focus on the children. But here's the thing. You can ask how many and what their names are, and that's it. The reason why is because if we poke the bear, there's a tragedy among those kids. Don't poke the bear. All activity will stop. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times. We're dealing with a respectable family here. Let's treat them with some kind of respect. Get how many kids and what their names are. If they want to give us anything else, I'll know based on what you guys are telling me among your spirit boxes. Jordan, you're getting the whole caboodle with yours. Eliza's dad. Ask anything you want to. how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Those are very specific questions. Notice that the questions I handed out are all non-yes or no questions. If you go rogue, make sure it's something we can actually prove. So again, if you want to ask your own questions, I just like to kind of give you guys a good starting point to kind of see where we're going with things. I am excited about the little bit of EMF we have going on already. Has it gone above 4.5 yet? Okay. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. I want everybody to spread out, and you're still running. I can see the blinking light, which is good. And did you still have a square on your screen, or is it a circle? So go ahead and tap the circle. So you must have stopped recording. The reason I asked is it looked like you had it pressed against your shirt.
What happened to the mansion and when?
Perfect. Now you're back up and running. Good deal. So
I don't know.
let's
I'm
get those
just
spirit boxes
told to
cranked
move
in
slower.
5 minutes. So Stephanie, if you want to work with the girls first and kind of show them a little bit more tidbits and any questions they might actually have.
6.9, and now it's 2.6. It was 6.9 for a minute.
So I'm gonna say a lie.
Right, but now it's 0. But it was, I mean, it just changes, fluctuates very quickly. 5.3.
So we're going to go above 6.9 at this point. Continue to escalate. Again, you're getting to a really good place. Yeah, let's go ahead and spread out. I'm going to work with Brenda first to show how to use it.
Welcome, London.
Use us.
Girl time.
So what do you mean by spread out? Like, are we supposed to like go separate or just
We
like,
walk around.
Yeah, just walk around. And
You walk away
and
and
we're supposed to ask this thing?
do I literally speak into the box?
No. So like how me and you are talking?
You just talk out.
Yeah.
And do I go off by myself?
You don't have to. So do I say?
I'm working. I'm horrible. It's just horrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a big one. I love you. You know it.
It is horrible though. I really.
If I say her name, yes, you can. Okay. You don't have to.
It's just,
Okay.
I've looked
it could get
So
you in
have you
trouble.
watched
That's the only
Transformers?
thing I would be worried about.
Yeah.
Depends on what
It's
you
basically
know.
how we talk on the radio. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I'm supposed recognition. Is that
Do I have to stay near them or can I walk off on my own?
You can walk off.
I'm asking. I'm doing the right thing.
No, yeah, I'm trying to figure it
Just as
out
long as
myself.
you stay in the parking lot.
Okay.
When did it? It's like the answers is supposed to be January, May. I remember that part.
You got the white one. So
Yes.
what part is the second white made?
Wait, London. Do I take it on? Do I press the button?
Yeah, you can turn it on.
How do I know when? Oh, okay, it's on.
Do I just like
Kind of just self-explanatory.
just look around? And,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I've been doing that. Okay.
Words are coming up. Nothing to do with that. But quiet.
Alright, so with your camera, Sam, again, it's nice slow movements. It's not, like I was just telling Michael, it's not an always in the moment type feel because the camera's so small, it's hard to see. I give those videos to YouTube, so that way you guys can watch them however you want to. So when I review it, it's on a nice big computer screen. I'm looking for orbs, I'm looking for any kind of motions that might not have been natural. So again, nice slow movements. You might be a good candidate to listen in on Rose's device too. So yeah, so take the other earbud, see what you get out of it, have some fun, entertain.
That's probably just part of the radio going back and forth and stuff. So like normally it would be like about damn time. Okay. Yeah.
Are you gonna listen with me? Maybe she'll hear it. How many kids did you have? Eliza, what were the names of your kids? Good boy. Eliza, how many kids did you have? Did you hear 11?
Alright, so you got it coming out of there?
I got the residential and 15 minutes.
Eliza, how many kids did you have?
15 doesn't mean anything in this location that I know of. Again, I'm reporting I just told you. So it all makes complete sense. I get it often. And that was actually kind of a rumor that I heard about that place until I started getting my guests that meet me here to eat dinner there first before meeting for
Check
the
it
tour.
out, yeah.
So I started hearing it more and more.
That's cool.
So let's get our mind off our own health, because that's probably the scariest thing I'm going to tell you all night long. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. So have you guys been on other Charleston tours, by the way?
Nope.
No, not at all? Oh, you guys have. Okay. So every tour guide talks about the big earthquake because it's an anomaly for us. We're supposed to have hurricanes, not earthquakes. So this is the first building, well, the first death occurred at this building. So the mantle you see in the middle of the building, where it actually wraps around the front as well, a piece of that broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head and killed them, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. I say apparently and allegedly because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just mentioned it again. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting and playing Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
All right, we're going to actually head this way.
Scooby
Let's go,
Natural.
Daphne. Come on.
Oh, you grabbed the backpack. I was looking for your backpack, but it took
Yeah, so you just put the earbud in.
She's already making a friend.
I think she might think that it's like gonna say things all the time because he's saying like the radio stations are gonna come in, and she might think that
Yeah.
it's gonna be consonant words.
I mean, I
So
thought
she
so.
was like, "What words do I say?" Like,
All of them.
So it's
All of
I
them.
think it's gonna like all crackly, and then like a word comes through. That's what I figured.
Bros, hurry up.
Don't get lost now.
Yeah, my shit, buddy.
like those things that
Can't see him really running
heard
for just a
on,
second.
like supernaturally, it is not the same place. So we've been there a handful of times, and just about every time we've been there, something has happened to somebody physically, and it is not a place I'm going to take the jail. The jail.
I want to go to jail.
It makes more sense now that you
So-
hear what's
So
in
it
there,
is
right?
I hear music.
Definitely. 1,000
Yeah, but until
words,
like
like,
something
without
is
a
actually
doubt.
said and you can
Again,
make it
I
out,
visit it
that's what you
time
tell
to time, if I'm down here during the daytime and we're kind
Understand?
of walking around.
So, like, if it's
space that I have gear on me, absolutely. But it is one
there's
of those
nothing to be
spaces
said.
where I won't take
If it-
Brenda
if it
back to
says,
again. She has-
let's
has
say the
actually
word-
fell ill. My wife fell ill there. She's
Well,
normally with me on an investigation.
tell 'em
It's just
what-
not a safe place. and I
because
couldn't
that's the
understand
only
why
word
they
you
would
actually were able to understand.
Okay.
So, welcome to the Big Red Barn.
Makes sense?
This is a very interesting space. We're not going to be here long. We're just here to talk about your devices. A little bit further, we can kind of answer some of your questions before we deep dive into history. This is where we keep some of the horses for your carriage rides. So you guys can probably smell the ponies. I'm immune to it. So
Oh, that's what I was
Enjoy.
smelling. Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering what
and that's another reason why we use the earbuds for the spirit boxes, because again, the horses can hear us. We just don't want to be blaring white noise. The history here is really simple, and I made it that way so that way we can actually just talk about your devices with a great example. This is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Keywords here being delivery, milk, and eggs. Obviously anything relatable to a stable. So let's talk about those spirit boxes, because I think we have 4 of them in play tonight. So spirit boxes, everybody wants to ask the same thing when they get a communication device. What do you think that question is? Think of the Ouija board. What do you think people want to ask, Gordon?
What's your name?
What's your name? What else do we have?
How'd you die?
London, what do they normally want to ask?
Is somebody here?
Is somebody here?
Awkward.
Because you have the yeses and the nos out of that, right? So if Jordan hears somebody say no on her spirit box, that still means that somebody's here. So we are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Even if you're here as a skeptic and just to kind of play around with supernatural toys and that kind of thing, we're going to be going after specific details. Normally when I'm training people how to use a spirit box, I tell them to ask a question they already know the answer to. For example, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we are looking and listening for the color red. I say looking because Gianna actually has a word list. She's not listening to anything. But the rest of you are using song lyrics and DJs to be able to convey messages back to us. The word red might not be available to them, but fire truck, blood, heart, those 3 things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. What do you have?
This is tape.
Tape. I thought you had like blood or something relevant. But at the same time, again, I'm going to require that there's at least 2 happenings going on to be able to verify what we actually have and call it something slightly paranormal. For example, let's say Gianna's word list has the word art on it. That doesn't mean anything over here by itself. But then Stephanie actually hears the number 40 coming out of her spirit box. Together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Does that make sense to everybody, how we're going to be putting these clues together? So again, Rosa, you're going to be part of all of that too. So I think I explained it pretty well to you over at the other stop. Let's talk about cameras. So basically with your camera, you're going to try to do 2 things. We have 2 cameras running tonight. So we're going to be in spaces where there's going to be parked cars and people walking by. People don't like their cars to be filmed first off, and they don't like to be filmed themselves thinking they're going to be on a new YouTube channel. So we're going to kind of steer away from filming people's cars directly. Just, you can pass by them, obviously, but you're going to try to do 2 things. Keep one of us in view, because our skin temperature is going to give us that array of color on the screen, and it's going to be much easier to find a cold spot if one of us is in view, because it kind of gives it that contrast. The other piece is leave the sky out if you can. The reason for that, the blue dot that's bouncing around the screen defaults to the sky looking for a surface. So again, there's no surface on the sky, so we want to kind of keep that cold spot on something solid. With yours, Sam, nice slow movements. We are not using the laser grids tonight, just because of the shortage of people. The laser grids with your camera are kind of an accompanied person, like they control lasers, so that way we can actually see motion going through them. But that camera still loves to capture orbs like crazy, because it is a new upgrade and it is absolutely phenomenal. So the slower movements you have, that's another reason why I gave Stephanie the open-ended spirit box, so that way the 2 of you can actually listen in together, and if you miss something, it'll show up on the video's audio, if that makes sense, so the 2 of you can actually work together. The same thing with the 2 of you. You guys actually have an extra earbud, because you're only going to be using one. Share it with another person in your party. Let them hear how that's going to work too, and verify each other. Now, Rosa, yours isn't recording, so I'm going to be relying on you and whoever else you choose to listen in on of what you're hearing. But Jordan, with yours, it's recording. So again, you can still share it to see, if mom or dad wants to actually see what's going on with that. But again, it's recording. We're going to verify it in more. Any other questions about your devices? I do have to work with Brenda individually at the next stop because of what she has, and that's the first place we're going to be using the motion sensor. All right, let's get away from ponies and football.
Should I
players.
have this on right now?
That's completely up to you. It's your tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to listen
The
to
answer
it,
is
not me,
yes.
that's fine.
Okay,
I'm telling you the answer is yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
because I'm trying to listen too, so I don't
Multitasking?
I'm
What's
trying.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to sound great.
Oh, mercy. Yep. God.
Never welcome would be a word.
Damn, okay. We're not welcome?
I know. Never
Shit.
welcome.
Never.
Yeah, we might be struggling with flip-flops today.
I told you.
Yeah.
You gonna speak up?
Electromagnetic field around us. There's no electricity in here. So if somebody is manipulating it, the theory is that the spirit world is basically made of energy / electricity, and that they're causing spikes from time to time. So the fact that you have an inconsistent reading right now is a good indication of that. Yeah, and you're going to see how high it can actually go in this location. Where he talks about how high it can go. So
he's going to put all the pieces together.
Right.
We heard a few words.
What'd you get?
I got never welcome, cash, and I'm serious.
That was in the time span that we
They
walked
rob a
here.
bank?
Yeah.
Alright, so cash, never welcome, and what was the last one?
I'm serious.
Okay, so now that you got the gist of how to listen to it, I'm not going to find that any of those things are specific enough for me to say, like, those are paranormal terms. So again, from this point moving forward, because you know how to listen to it now, I'm not going to be writing down anything unless it's relevant.
Okay.
So I'll always ask first before I break out the notebook, so that way we can kind of have that gist of like, hey, you heard a specific name here, Jordan heard something else on hers, we can piece it together because it's tied to the same person. So let's kind of get into why we're here, because Stephanie's like dying to turn that thing on. She's been like staring at it. So, welcome to your first parking lot, everybody. You made it. Congratulations. This space used to be something. It used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. So, their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. By the way, this where we came in is the only entrance and exit, which is why I pull us over here. Humidity is not going to affect it, so because that has happened in the past. So I'm going to start this one immediately, and because you've shown so much interest with this, I am going to hand it off to you. And again, nice slow movements with this. You're going to grab the handle, so that way you kind of have a good grip on everything. It does have a little bit of weight to it. It's cool. Let's get into spirit boxes.
So you get to look at Popo all day. How do you feel about that?
It's Popo.
Spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. So, again, this is a lot like what you're going to see on TV with the white noise, and then your TV show host puts it up in the middle of the screen of what he thinks he heard. Yeah, trying to convince you of the same thing. We're going to be doing this in real time. The difference is that my radio sweepers are slowed down on purpose. I'm allowing the radio chatter to come through instead of just white noise. The reason for that is because whoever listens to this has an earbud in. If they're listening to white noise for 2 hours plus the history I'm going to give, they're going to fall asleep. And finding disembodied voices like what they show you on TV actually is a rare thing. Like, we only capture about 4 to 5 of those a year. So again, they're a rarity. You're not going to capture those every single night. So what the method we're using is it's the radio chatter. So song lyrics, DJs, commercials. So if we hear any of those things and we can actually make it out of what they're saying, it's a 50-50 shot. We can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're discussing, like their birthday, the year they died, anything relative like that, or something even going on with one of you. That happens all the time too. So if you brought a lost loved one with you, that they may come through on a spirit box. So the cool thing is that Jordan's going to be listening to this with an earbud. She's going to be the only one to hear it in real time. However, it's recording the entire radio sweep, no outside noise. So I'm going to be writing down whatever she hears in real time, and I'll spot check it in the morning so that way you can kind of see other things that I captured. So again, we'll kind of see if this is going to tie in together with all of the other spirit boxes we're going to be using. But Jordan, your earwax is gross, as is everybody's. Okay. So you get to keep the earbuds. I don't want them back. So, you're welcome.
Souvenir, yay!
Earwax. So the only thing you need to worry about is the volume.
Yeah.
So that is a wheel at the very top. I'm going to make sure it's turned all the way down so that way when you put your earbud in, it doesn't blast you. Just undo the twist tie before you put that earbud in, and you'll be good to go.
Oh, they're parking in the spot that you tried to park in.
Yeah,
That's not a spot.
Nope. I do have 2 of these, but this one is not going to record. So I'm going to be relying on Rosa to be able to tell me what she hears in real time so I can write it down.
Rosa,
Oh dear God, you got the wrong.
You might have picked the wrong one.
Rosa.
What?
He said your name.
What, for the same thing she had?
Yep.
What? What's wrong with me?
She's got this.
Well,
Give it a try.
What's wrong with me?
Well,
So, again, earwax is nasty. You get to keep that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Your volume is right here at the top. It's the wheel, not the button.
Okay. So now,
You have
again,
to
what
Here we
am I
go.
listening for?
Song lyrics, DJs, commercials. If you hear Welcome to Charleston or Buy a Ford Today, I want to know that you heard Welcome to Charleston and Buy a Ford Today. The
Okay.
reason being is because the word welcome and the word buy might actually mean something to the space we're in. So
Okay.
again, if it's a song lyric, I don't care who it is. I want to know what they sang.
Okay.
So does that make
Listen.
sense? So if you hear Harry Styles, I don't give a shit that you heard Harry Styles. I want to know what Harry Styles sang.
Okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yes,
That's about what you heard.
Great, now it's gonna be stuck in my head.
Yeah, good. You're welcome.
You're gonna be the one listening to it later.
You do the.
So, the next spirit box we don't actually have to listen to. That's the cool thing about this guy. So this spirit box, once I get it up and running, make sure it's running properly because it actually crapped out on us the other night.
Oh.
We're in good shape. So this guy is going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. So again, this is a phone app. It's going to save all of those words and phrases into a list. Now there's nothing there because we had an issue with the phone app the other day. I contacted the developer and they actually fixed it for us. So when you get your word list, it's going to have timestamps on it of when those words and phrases actually popped up. This would replace an obelisk, the thing that you would see on your ghost hunting shows. Now, with the obelisk, it has about 2,000 terms in it, so this is roughly about the same right now. Again, 80% of this is going to be absolute garbage. The other 20% that pops up on there is going to be relevant to our space, the location, the person, one of us. So, with that said, is it Gianna?
Yes.
Look at me,
Yes.
remembering names. So, this one's going to go to you. I don't want to see every word that pops up. I'll come to you when I want to see the list. Because otherwise we'll be out here till like 4 in the morning.
Okay.
Because there's going to be a lot that pops up with that.
Sounds good.
Let's see. You're going to be my multitasker. You seem like you're very serious.
It's the second time I heard it last year.
So we're going to get pretty much going to have to have
Nice.
everybody else's device. So basically, this is a millimeter. What this is going to do is it's going to measure electromagnetic fields, anything electrical wiring, parking meters, that kind of thing. We're going to see numbers jump up and down on this guy all night long. Anything above 2.5 on your big numbers, I want to know what's going on. The other reason why I'm handing this one to you is because with the thermal imaging camera, we can find any cold spots that he thinks he found and debunk them by using the yellow probe at the top. That's the bottom number. So that way you and I can actually read the temperatures and kind of see what's going on to see if it's coming from something man-made. The last thing that
85 to 84, that's the ambient temperature?
Yes, 84.8.
And if I go over 2.5, that'd be
on the top one. The last thing that it has is it has a motion sensor on it. So if anything gets close to this guy, it's gonna go off. I'm not touching it right now. I'm touching it now. So the closer something gets, obviously higher pitch noises, different colors show up. You and I will talk more about that at the first stop we're going to use it, but I do want you to get used to how the numbers kind of move around before we actually get anything else going on. Stepping in with it?
Yes.
Look at me. Wow, I'm on it tonight.
We're on a roll.
Guess the night off actually helped out. Your spirit box, it's the newest one we have.
Cool.
So, this
Oh,
one
big
works a
baller.
whole lot differently than everybody else's.
Oh,
This is going to sweep through both the FM and AM radio stations at the same time, and it's going to attempt to take out the white noise that Rosa and Jordan are listening to. So, hopefully, you're only going to hear words come out of this. The problem with that is you're only going to hear about 10 to 12 of them because this thing is about 75% accurate to the space that we're in.
Wow.
So, again, I love this guy. It is absolutely amazing, and it has been fantastic so far. We've only had it a few months.
Okay.
So, again, the only thing you need to worry about is how to hold it and where the mute button is, because it's on mute right now.
Okay.
When you're looking at the face of it, because you will hold it this way, the blinking lights are the top. So, obviously, this is the top. On the right-hand side is a mute button. It's the only button there.
Can I ask that question?
Yeah, there's only one. So I just unmuted it. I'm going to put the mute button back on because we're going to be near ponies soon, and I don't want to disrupt any horses. So again, they don't like the
Do
white
I
noise.
want it on mute or do I not want it on mute when
We're gonna want it on mute. Like, we don't want to hear anything out of your spirit box. We will always give you the cues of when it's safe to unmute your spirit box.
Okay.
Just because some of the spaces we're going to be in are going to be quiet areas, or we're going to be near horses, and they don't like the white noise.
Okay.
We don't want to spook them. So
So you'll let me know when to turn it off, and
got
then
it.
I hit this button right here.
You got it.
Okay, easy enough. I'm happy with what I got.
One button. We make things nice and simple so
One
you can
button.
have a quick learn, and that way we can all have
So,
fun.
I have one more question. So when I put this in, I'm going to hear like just white noise right now.
No,
No.
you're going to hear radio chatter.
Okay.
You're going to hear radio
But I-
stations coming through.
But I have to hear something specific to like the group or me.
No, like
No.
Or the
No,
area
whatever.
I'm in.
No, whatever you hear is
Whatever I hear?
wait.
So no matter
You
how
said it.
silly you think it is, like if you hear the song Drop It Like It's Hot, I want to know that you heard Drop It Like It's Hot because the space we're in may have had a fire.
But
And
the
then-
words is
Oh.
code for something.
I understand. All right, I get what you're saying now. I'm sorry.
Got it?
Yes.
Because somebody else might get the year that fire occurred. But you have Drop It Like It's Hot, and then somebody else gave me the number of the year that it actually happened in. So now we have two clues that are going to verify each other.
Okay.
All right, so before we go into more questions, because we're going to talk more about your devices at the next stop. Which
Okay.
It's perfectly fine that she asked
Fair.
that now. Now, you guys are going to make me talk all night, so I'm going to take a quick drink. Pretty sure it's my job to talk, isn't it? Yeah, pretty sure. So, talk about Big John's, because there's a reason why we're here. The place is haunted. So, basically, it was owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. It was his bar. Can you see why it's called Big John's now?
No.
He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Now,
Go Giants.
yes.
Yeah, baby.
Now, whenever I'm giving you history of a location of the space that we're in, I will do my best to slow down on the specific keywords that commonly come up on the spirit boxes. Here, that would be 47, New York, Giants, and anything relative to a bar and the name John. So kind of keep those in mind. But here's why the place is haunted. John used to sit at the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys came in, they weren't old enough to drink, so he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty angry. And they come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, he slams down his beer, and he goes over and just starts beating the hell out of these two cadets. Well, a couple of gunshots go off, and John gets hit in the neck. The bullet lands behind him in the wall. John's been the only one that's been shot, by the way, and he's the only one that got up. He goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him a beer, get the two guys on the floor, and ambulance. So, moral of the story is it doesn't always take a dead person to haunt a place. So here's why the place is haunted. The bullet hole is allegedly still here. Now, the new renovation of Big John's may have filled it in. It's a great possibility. But that doesn't mean that Big John's blood still isn't in the walls of this building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. This is kind of a heated warning. We're going to be dealing with paranormal activity tonight, fingers crossed, because that's why you guys are all here. I can't make the ghosts do anything because they're not on the payroll, so I have no idea what's going to happen as far as the activity goes. Now, the other piece of that is, if anybody feels any of those symptoms, I'll need to know immediately. We'll always blame it on the heat and humidity first, just because that's what we do. We're not here to call everything paranormal. Yes?
Is it possible because they're drinking they could also feel nauseous?
I've had families, mom, dad, two kids, show up,
And
not
they
a
feel
drink,
sick.
not a drink. Mom couldn't finish her steak. She's the only one that didn't feel well.
Wow.
She gets out of the bar, she feels much better, and they don't